back.
Well, that was my second question. Is Hamas
Steve, come up for a second. Maybe you might want to say a couple of words.
Sir,
I didn't-
Hamas released another hostage.
I didn't know Steve was going to be here, actually.
Neither did I.
He's done a fantastic job, and it's a dangerous job, too, and we appreciate it. He didn't know about this kind of danger and the other deal-making he does. Now he sees a lot of big danger. Come on up, Steve.
Mr. President, can I ask you the second part of that? Hamas
Yeah,
released
just one
another
second,
hostage
please.
video.
I'm going to give you a little report on the hostages, if I can. Steve? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow. Well, I think we're making a lot of progress, and I don't want to say too much because I think that some really great progress, and I'm really hopeful that by the inaugural, we'll have some good things to announce on behalf of the President. I actually believe that we're working in tandem in a really good way, but it's the President, his reputation, the things that he has said that are driving this negotiation, and so hopefully it'll all work out and we'll save some lives. I believe we've been on the verge of it. I don't want to discuss sort of what's delayed it. There's no point to be negative in any way. But I think it's the President, his stature, what he said he expects, the red lines he's put out there, that's driving this negotiation. I'm going back probably either this evening or tomorrow night.
Are you confident there'll be a deal before January 20th, or is that something that's likely to happen? If there's a deal even at all, and we've been hearing this now for the better part of.
I know. I would say.
They better be.
Right. I would say that the President is exasperated. I don't want to talk for him, but look, I don't know anyone who delegates better than President Trump. He gives us a lot of authority to speak on his behalf, and he exhorts us. No, I think they heard him loud and clear. Better get done by the inaugural.
But when you say all hell will be
Before I
paid,
take
all hell must be paid if they don't release the
You know what that
hostages.
means, don't you?
Well-
Do I have to define it for you? Look, all
No, I know
hell
you're not
will
gonna
break out.
telegraph
If
what-
those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Can you elaborate?
And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. But there was, and many people are killed. They're no longer hostages. I have people from Israel and others calling, begging me to get, we had also people there from the United States, just so you know. They're holding some so-called hostages from the U.S. But I've had mothers come to me and fathers crying, can I get the body of their son back? Can I get the body of their daughter back? That beautiful girl where they threw her in the car, pulled her by her ponytail and threw her in the car like she was a sack of potatoes. I said, what happened to her? Sir, she's dead. Like a 19, 20-year-old beautiful girl. And the way they treated her. And I just say it this very simply. Steve's got a job to do. He's a great guy, great negotiator, great person. They respect him over there already. It's what we needed over there. We have people that know everything about the Middle East, but they can't speak properly. They don't know. He's a great negotiator. That's what I needed. I could have sent that gentleman right over there, Hussein. He's a great negotiator. There are people, they're rare. Great negotiators are very rare, like a great surgeon. But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Okay?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Mr. President, more than 140 police officers were injured by rioters on January 6th. Will you pardon anyone who attacked a police officer?
Well, the only one that was killed was a beautiful young lady named Ashley Babbitt. She was killed, and there was actually somebody else that was killed, also a MAGA person, but people don't give it 100% credibility. I'm going to find out about it, and we're going to find out. But Ashley Babbitt was killed. She was shot. Should have never been shot. She was shot for no reason whatsoever. In fact, they say that she was trying to hold back the crowd, and the crowd was made up of a lot of different people, so we'll see. But I will tell you this, the person that was killed was Ashley Babbitt. The other thing is, when they talk, you know, there was never charges of insurrection or anything like that. But if there were, this would be the only insurrection in history where people went in as insurrectionists with not one gun, okay? And let me tell you, the people that you're talking about have a lot of guns in their home for hunting and for shooting and for entertainment, a lot of good reasons. But there wasn't one gun that they found. And why didn't they find the bomber, the pipe bomber? You know, they know who the pipe bomber is. The FBI knows who it is. The status of the FBI has gone down so far, and the status of the DOJ, or as I call it, the Department of Justice, it's the Department of Injustice. It's being laughed at all over the world. And hopefully with Pam Bondi and with Kash Patel and with other people that we're putting in, that will all come back. If you do a poll in the FBI, I guarantee you I'm at like 90% with the agents of the FBI, but they have hurt that incredible place. Law enforcement, I mean, you think of the FBI, they raided this house. By the way, they could have told me, could I see this? I would have given them, I actually told them, come in anytime you want. You can see anything. They raided the house and the case was dismissed. And now I'm in litigation. I'm suing them for doing that. And I feel so badly doing it. I'm the president of the United States, and I'm suing the United States, but I'm suing them for other things, too. The FBI has gone so, its reputation has been so horribly hurt between Comey, who is the worst, and all of the others. What's happened to the FBI is, and we're going to make it great again. We're going to make the FBI great again. We're going to make the Department of Justice fair and strong, but fair again, because all they did was attack me because I'm their political opponent, and that includes with local judges like Marchand. You ought to find out. Ask them, why do I have a gag order where I'm not allowed to speak? Think of it. I'm the President of the United States, and I'm not allowed to speak. Why? Because if I did speak, people would understand the scam. It's a scam. And we have very dishonest judges, and New York judges are very bad. We had one that valued this house at $18 million because it was good for their case. He actually valued that chandelier is worth more than $18 million. He valued this house as $18 million. And we have another one who was so nasty, so horrible, such a brute, most vicious, vile person. These are New York judges. But we've won most of the cases, so we're very happy about that. Please.
Back on Greenland, your position is clear, but have you directed your staff to take these specific actions to draw plans? And can you elaborate again? You didn't rule out military coercion.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
Have you asked your staff to draw plans for acquisition? I mean, are you active?
No, we're not at that stage, but we have people. I haven't even entered office yet.
Secondly, sir, Elon Musk has drawn some criticism and a lot of attention for some of his actions and provocative statements about foreign affairs, including in Europe. Your reaction to that, is that appropriate for...
You mean where he likes people that tended to be conservative? I don't know the people. I can say Elon's doing a good job, very smart guy. I don't know the people you're talking about. He was, I know he said some negative things about a couple of people that are running for office, but that's not so unusual. Yes, please.
I wanted to ask you about Ukraine and Putin. How soon do you anticipate going to meet with Putin to discuss the Ukraine situation?
Well, I can't tell you that, but I know that Putin would like to meet. I don't think it's appropriate that I meet until after the 20th, which I hate, because, you know, every day people are being, many, many young people are being killed, soldiers. You know, the land is very flat, and hundreds of thousands of soldiers from each, many hundreds of thousands from each side are dead, and they're laying in fields all over the place. Nobody to even kill.
At Anytime Fitness, your time is our time. From sunrise to sunset, your fitness journey never has to wait.
Farmland, and it's very, very flat, and the only thing that stops a bullet is the human body, and the human body is stopping a lot of bullets.
Within the
I hope
first
so.
3 to 6
I hope to have 6 months. No, I would think, I hope long before 6 months. Look, Russia's losing a lot of young people, and so is Ukraine. And it should have never been started. That's a war that should have never happened. I guarantee you, if I were president, that war would have never happened.
Who would you like to nominate to replace Michael Barr as vice chair of the board?
I'll be announcing somebody.
Mr. President, if we were to work under the assumption that you're serious about making Canada 51st state of the United States, the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstance will it ever be the 51st state.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't care.
You had suggested.
Listen, I don't care what he says.
But Sir, real fast, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force, because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. But here's the problem with Canada. So many friends up there. I love the Canadian people. They're great. But we're spending hundreds of billions a year to protect it. We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. We're losing massive. We don't need their cars. You know, they make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit. We don't need the cars. We don't need their lumber. We have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their lumber. We have to unrestrict them because stupid people put, you know, restrictions on, but I can do that with an executive order. We don't need anything they have. We don't need their dairy products. We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money. We help them. As an example, we're buying icebreakers, and Canada wants to join us in the buying of icebreakers. I said, you know, we don't really want to have a partner in the buying of icebreakers. We don't need a partner. But no right. Nope, no right. Here's what we have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties because we owe $36 trillion too. We're going to start knocking it out pretty fast, but we're going to be able to do it because of energy and other things. But no right. No right. But why are we supporting a country, $200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function if we didn't take their 20% of our car market. You know, they send us hundreds of thousands of cars. They make a lot of money with that. They send us a lot of other things that we don't need. We don't need their cars, and we don't need the other products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot of milk. We got a lot of everything, and we don't need any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question, but I can answer it. We're doing it because of habit, and we're doing it because we like our neighbors, and we've been good neighbors, but we can't do it forever, and it's a tremendous amount of money. And why should we have a $200 billion deficit and add on to that many, many other things that we give them in terms of subsidy? And I said, that's okay to have if you're a state. But if you're another country, we don't want to have it. We're not going to have it with European Union either. European Union, we have a trade deficit of $350 billion. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. And so we're not going to have it with them either. Brian, go ahead.
Yes. Happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you.
We have some breaking news. You may not be aware of this, but it looks like Canon has blocked the DOJ from releasing the Smith's report until further court proceedings. Get your thoughts on
Wow,
that.
that's a big story.
Yeah.
So if I get it right, the fake witch hunt started by the DOJ having to do with books and records, and Biden had many more, and he wasn't protected by the Presidential Records Act, I was. But all of that fake stuff that took the lives of people, I mean, literally destroyed people. People are destroyed because of what they did, destroyed. But we got to be president. But Biden did it for 40 years. He did it when he was a senator. That was illegal. And they ruled it was illegal. How about that? They said, it's illegal, but he's unfit to stand trial. So he can stand and be president of the United States, but the prosecutor found that he's unfit for trial. I was going to use that as a major talking point, but I never got to use it because all of a sudden I had a new candidate who was also sort of unfit to stand trial, right? But so what you're saying is that the judge just blocked the, so Cannon was thrown off the case. They dropped their appeal because he had no case. They dropped all of that, the lawsuits against us. They lost the lawsuit. So this is deranged Jack Smith. So he dropped the lawsuits. He was told to by the DOJ because they had no lawsuit. They lost in court in front of a very strong and a very brilliant judge. They lost in court, and that pertained to other cases in other courts. So he wanted to do a report just before I take office, probably. So he'll do like a 500-page report, and it'll be a fake report just like the investigation was a fake investigation. And I said, well, wait a minute. This guy was thrown off in disgrace. In disgrace. He's going back to The Hague or wherever they're going to send him. In disgrace. Because he failed so badly. Because it was a fake case against a political opponent. They thought they were going to use this to beat me. So what you're saying is, I'm just hearing that they're not allowed to issue the report. So if they're not allowed to issue the report, that's the way it should be. Because he was thrown off the case in disgrace. Why should he be allowed to write a fake report? It'll only be a fake report. That's great news. Yeah. Good.
And if I can just follow up real quickly, you want to comment, many Americans are angry that we're sending millions of dollars every month to the Taliban. Do you anticipate?
It's not even believable. Billions of dollars, not millions, billions. We pay billions of dollars to essentially the Taliban, Afghanistan. And that's given by Biden. That's the same man that took away $50 to $60 trillion worth of value from the United States. Think of it. Probably our most valuable asset. Took away our most valuable asset. This can't be allowed to happen. We are now a nation of common sense. When he does that, 625 million acres, this can't be allowed to happen. Thank you for the information. Yes, sir. Most other people probably knew about it, but they wouldn't have told me, right?
Mr. President, on the campaign trail, you vowed to bring down the prices at grocery stores very fast.
Yeah, we will do it
But then
fast.
you recently told Time Magazine that bringing down prices would be very hard. So what can the American people expect when you get into office?
It's always hard to bring down prices when somebody else has screwed something up like they did, but we'll bring them down. We'll get them down. Energy is going to bring down prices. We're going to have a lot of energy, and energy is what brought it up. Energy and their bad spending is what brought it up, and energy is going to bring it down. We're going to have prices down. I think you're going to see some pretty drastic price reductions. As an example, food, bacon, ham, apples, everything has gone through the roof. It's one of the reasons I won. So as you know, I said it, inflation was one of the reasons I won, but I think the biggest reason I won was the fact that they are allowing prisoners to come into our country. They released their prisoners, their murderers. Thousands of murderers are now walking around the streets of our cities and farmland all over, murders, people that have killed. Many, 32% have killed more than one person. They released them from their jails, their prisons, and their mental institutions and insane asylums into our country. I believe that's the reason we got such a large vote. All right, maybe one or two more questions. Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead, you go.
Sir,
You have-
can you, President Carter is laying in state today in Washington. You had some harsh words for him about the Panama Canal. Is there any disconnect there? Do you feel a little bit bad about doing that on this day?
No, I liked him as a man. I disagreed with his policy. So, hey, he thought giving away the Panama Canal was a good thing. I think it cost him the election. That and the hostages. I actually think that was a bigger factor because that's a deal that just should not have been made. But again, this was a question that was asked of me. I didn't bring it up. I didn't want to bring up the Panama Canal because of Jimmy Carter's death. But people don't bring it up. But, you know, you and other people have asked me about it. No, it's a deal that I was very strongly against. I was a young guy when this took place. But just why would we spend all of that money, lose 38,000 people to malaria, the mosquito? They were dying. It was horrible what was happening. They paid them 4 times more than they would make in the United States, but they knew they were going to go over there and die. And they died in the jungles of malaria. There was nothing we could do to stop it. 38,000. And then we gave it away for $1.
Through Congress, you appeared to open the door in your radio interview yesterday for a 2-bill approach. Is it still your preference for one big, beautiful bill, as you have said?
Well, I like one big, beautiful bill, and I always have, I always will. But if 2 is more certain, it does go a little bit quicker because you can do the stuff early. Now, you have to understand, for immigration and for the wall, we won the case on the wall. You know, they tried to sell the wall for 5 cents on the dollar, by the way. And we had, fortunately, a judge that stopped that. But they were already discarding the wall. And 5 cents on the dollar. And you know what they were doing? They were calling us up and saying, we'll sell it back to you at 200 cents. In other words, double what we paid for it. So they were going to buy it from this guy for 5 cents on the dollar. They were making deals. And fortunately, we had a very smart judge that stopped it cold. I think he called for an investigation, too, and he should. But think of it. They were selling the wall that was exactly the wall that the Border Patrol wanted. That was designed by them. Steel, concrete, rebar, exactly as they want. Very, very heavy steel, very powerful steel, hard to cut. Very, very heavy 7,000-pound concrete, which is a very strong concrete. Everything was top of the line. Very expensive. Would be double what we paid for it then, 6 years ago. But let me just tell you, they were selling it for 5 cents on the dollar to people, and those people were calling us, asking us to pay them 200 cents because it's a good deal because we can have it immediately. And you know what immediately is? Just leave it in place. No, the papers haven't written that, though. That deal is like all the other things that these people do. These people either hate our country or they're very stupid. And I don't believe they're stupid because nobody can cheat on elections like they cheat and be stupid. They either hate our country or they're stupid. So remember what I said because nobody wants to report it. They were selling the wall for 5 cents on the dollar.
So I live in third world conditions and my power just went out, so I've got to deal with that. But, you know, I just want to say, like, yeah, sanity has been restored to the White House. Like, this is the first time that I've been able to listen to a press conference from a politician in many years, probably since Trump was last in office, that I was like, oh, right, yeah, that's right. Like, he's telling it like it is. He's fucking a hilarious badass. Also, let's just give credit to that. Calling it the Department of Injustice, the DOJ. Right. And, but I just think what made me watch that, this is a live press conference on CNN. What made me even watch it was the provocative headline that CNN has that says, the world is on the brink of World War III. It's a pretty dire headline. And I'm listening to it, and everything I'm hearing sounds like the truth, and sounds like, so he's talking about ending the war in Ukraine and coming to some kind of a negotiation with Putin. That's to avoid World War III. Like, that headline is a very scary headline, but the thing is, that's not really news. That's not really a new situation, that the world is on the brink of World War III. Okay. Maybe what's new is that people are coming to terms with that reality. That's the reality that Trump is inheriting. That's the reality that Biden and the Democrats have given us, is that the world is on the brink of World War III. Yeah, it is. It is. It has been for the past year. I mean, some would say that World War III has already started. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define war. But, I mean, it basically is World War III, hasn't it? Well, I guess the reason why it's not that yet is because it's not technically a direct confrontation between USA and Russia. Pretty fucking close, though. So that's reality, people. That is the reality. And Trump is dealing with that reality by trying to prevent it from happening, trying to prevent the World War III from actually breaking out. Okay, but that is what he has to deal with. So it's a scary headline, but really it's the situation. It's not really anything new. That's been the situation for a long time. And I mean, of course, that was the reason why I supported Trump in 2016, way back to 2016, because I remember during that election, Hillary Clinton was making comments against Russia that I could tell that she wanted to have a war with Russia back then. And so I'm like, well, we can't let this crazy war-mongering bitch in office. Like, you know, whatever. Like, Trump called Rosie O'Donnell fat, but so that means we have to have somebody who wants to have a war with Russia in instead? Like, what's worse? You know? And I just think people are nuts. Like all these people who are against Trump and everything, like, they're pretty nuts. They're pretty fucking nuts. The way that they act, the way that they carry on, like some of the headlines that I've been seeing, and then I just hear him talk, and it's like he's telling it like it is. This is the reality. Regarding his comments about Canada, the USA is subsidizing Canada. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. He is being selective with the numbers, though, because I would say in a lot of ways it's the other way around as well. If you can consider the US dollar being the world's reserve currency, so the US basically gets away with running up these enormous deficits without really having an impact on its purchasing power of its currency because of its reserve currency status. So Canada and the rest of the world that doesn't have a reserve currency doesn't enjoy that luxury. So, you know, if we run up huge deficits, our purchasing power will go down, does go down. So we have we have to live more within our means in Canada. The United States basically has a blank check to to run endless deficits in debt, pile it on, as long as it's got the reserve currency. So I think when you factor that in, it starts to look like the rest of the world subsidizing USA, including Canada. But you know, his job is to advocate for the best interests of his country. So that's the position he's putting forward. And I would welcome, I mean, so people think that he's going to invade Canada. He said, no, we're not going to have a military invasion of Canada. But yeah, Canada should be part of the USA, and how we would achieve that is through economics. Right. If it were up to the free market, Canada would be part of the USA. That is basically true. And so I would welcome it. I would welcome it, actually, because I would be over the moon delighted if I had First Amendment right to free speech. You know, that's like my biggest issue is the censorship that I've experienced in my life. And I really think Canada needs to have a constitutional right to free speech. I mean, I've never let that stop me from expressing myself, just because I don't have a right to free speech. as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if you have a constitutional right. It's a God-given right. So everyone has free speech. I exercise free speech regardless. But look at my broken life. Look at my broken life. Look where I'm living. Look, I mean, the consequences have been severe for exercising my free speech. I know I've done the right thing. I don't regret it, but it's not right. It's not fair. And it's more than just free speech. There's other, there would be other benefits to Canada, human rights in Canada, by joining the U.S., like equal treatment before the law. Equal treatment before the law. So that's one of the constitutional rights in the United States. So all this stuff going on where, you know, there's different sentences for crimes committed by people of Native ancestry versus other races, or just like, it's another example, like just the double standards in terms of race that go on in Canada in official policies would not fly in the United States. Like, so much of subsidized housing in BC is only for Native people. Like, that would not be happening in the United States. Here's an easy. What happened at the Little Mountain Housing Project would not have been legal in the United States. Public housing tenants have a right to be consulted before public housing is sold or demolished. Like, there's just so many rights that, I mean, they do matter. They do matter. These things do matter, because when you're on the receiving end of unfair treatment, you want those rights. And I mean, I think the Little Mountain tenants would know that from first-hand experience, and so many other groups. And I would say increasingly white men in Canada would understand that, because in so many ways public policy treats us like second-class citizens. I mean, there's outright hiring. Companies are outright saying, like, white men need not apply. Like, that would not fly in the United States. So, you know, even when they have affirmative action. So, for those reasons, I would support Canada being part of the United States. I mean, it's of course I have a nostalgia to Canada, but, you know, it basically, the world has gotten so much more complicated. You know, if you go back to my parents' generation, you know, they used to cross the border like nothing, like it was nothing. It effectively, they were the same country, effectively speaking, because of the way that the world operated back then. Okay, so it would really be a return to business as usual, really. You know, it's only in the past 20 years or so that there's been a thickening of the border. Okay, right. In response to 9/11, like, even you could go to the United States without, would just show your birth certificate if you're a Canadian, up until like 2007 or something, so effectively, like, these two countries were much more integrated in the past, and culturally we're so similar. I mean, Canada only exists really as a separate country from the United States, as a means for Britain to keep its stranglehold on the North American continent. We're here basically so that they can, you know, prevent the U.S. from being too powerful. That's not fair. It's not right. It's not right, because Canadians should have the same rights as Americans. We are culturally the same, and we deserve the same thing, same as what they've got. So I would actually support that. That doesn't mean that Canada would cease to exist, and I don't know about making it a single state. Okay, like, but that would be all stuff that would need to be worked out, right? But Canada would still exist as a political entity. It just wouldn't be an independent country anymore. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I really do. I really do. I mean, I'd certainly rather be part of the United States than be part of China. And, you know, it's one or the other. It's one or the other. It's not pretty much. You know, you're a vassal state of one or the other. Whether you're a vassal state or whether you're actually part of that country doesn't really make much of a difference at the end of the day in terms of Canada-U.S. relations. I mean, it does, but it also it doesn't mean the sky would fall, and it doesn't mean that Canada would not exist, is what I'm trying to say. It's a complex issue, for sure. And it sure would be fun to see people in Quebec shit their pants, too, wouldn't it? I mean, when he's talking about all the milk that the United States is buying from Canada, yeah, that's coming from Quebec. That's coming from Quebec. They're the reason why, by the way, we have to pay so much. We have to pay through the nose for our milk prices. You know, it's about time Quebec got reined in. And if Canada can't do it, then I guess the U.S. will do it for us by essentially taking over Canada through economic policy, not military confrontation. All right, so let me try to get the power turned on in this hovel.